Welcome to episode 3 of my New York City Marathon training series. It's been a month of just getting the kilometers or the miles in. Taipei was still very hot, still very humid. I got as much as I could in when I could, and towards the end of September, about 10 days ago, I relocated to Seattle, Washington, here in the States, and to say the temperature change has been drastic is a bit of an understatement. When I left Taipei, it was 32 to 34 degrees Celsius, which is low to mid 90s Fahrenheit and very humid still. And here in Seattle, it's a beautiful 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 to 54 degrees Fahrenheit. And honestly, kind of dry and cool compared to at least what I'm used to. And the difference in heart rate, perceived effort, and what I'm capable of holding as far as marathon pace and training paces is drastic. I'm going to make a whole video about heat acclimation and what I'm experiencing going from a very hot environment to a very cold environment, at least to me, given where I'm coming from. But for the sake of this marathon training series, training has picked up now that I'm in Seattle. I'm in Seattle for the rest of the month, for all of October, and then I'll be going to New York City about a week before the race and finishing everything up there, doing the race, spending about another week in New York, and then heading back to Taipei. So it's really good to be here. It's nice to be running someplace different, and it's nice to be running in some cooler temperatures. Let's quickly go over the macro goals that I set for this marathon training build. And the first one is about lengthening my stride. Now, in September, I didn't really focus on this at all. As I talked about in the last video in this series, I got about a 6 to 12 centimeter or about a 2 to 4 inch growth or extension to my stride. And that's still with me. That's consistent across every run. I see that in my metrics on every run, no matter what the pace, from easy pace to marathon or faster than marathon pace. So I'm very happy with that. It actually worked out really well, and I'm glad to see that my stride has lengthened a little bit. So I'm not really doing anything with it. I think sort of mission accomplished, job done on that one. The next one is around foot health. Now, this one's been about a bit of a mixed bag. I've had no plantar fasciitis issues, and if you're interested, I finally published my video about how I resolved my plantar fasciitis. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in seeing that. But for the past month, I've had no plantar fasciitis problems. I've actually had no toenail trauma problems. The Vaporflies, Pegasus, the shoes I'm running in right now, they fit really well. I have no problems with that. But I think I talked about this in my last video last month, that I had the most insane blister starting. Well, that blister was with me for all of September. In fact, once the blister healed, scabbed over, and the scab kind of fell off, there was another blister directly under that blister. So it was the most insane blister I've ever had, and there was a second blister under that. I would say in the past maybe week, it's finally completely gone, healed, no problems. But it was plaguing me all of September, and it was not fun. It was just not fun. The other thing that I've had pop up in the past couple days, really since I've been here in September in Seattle, is that on my left foot, the big toe joint, I've talked about my hallux limitus. The big toe joint has been very sore, very stiff. Like, it almost feels like I dropped something on it. I didn't kick anything. There was no trauma. There's nothing I remember doing to it. I just remember waking up one morning and my left toe joint was really sore, to the point where putting on a shoe has been a challenge. It's hurt. Now, when I'm out running, the first, I don't know, half a kilometer or so is very painful. And then it sort of loosens up and I'm okay. I'm still doing my mobility exercises. I do all the same drills that I've been doing. I haven't really changed anything. It just sort of appeared out of nowhere. Now, since yesterday, it's gotten a little bit better. And what happened yesterday was I did a long run with a lot of marathon pace. And actually, it had some half marathon pace in it, so it was a little faster. And I was running, and I remember feeling that left toe joint, I got a sharp pain in my toe, to the point where I almost had to stop because it hurt so much. But then it just sort of faded away. And for the rest of the run, and that was maybe 20 minutes into about an hour and 30-minute run, I didn't have any problems. It was sore, but it didn't hurt anymore. And then post that, just recovering yesterday and going to sleep overnight and waking up this morning, it's sore, but it doesn't hurt. It didn't hurt like it's hurt for the past 5 or 6 days. It almost feels like I had my big toe out of joint and then I somehow popped it back in, and now everything's fine. It's just sore as it's healing. So hopefully this goes away. Hopefully it's not a big problem, but it's been a little bit of a challenge because it just feels like there's always something new going on with my feet. Nothing that's taking me out of running, and there's nothing that's totally sidelining me, but it's there's always something, and it's a little bit annoying. And then the last point is around recovery and fueling. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in this episode. As far as recovery, which has really been focused around sleep for me, it's been a little bit of a challenge with jet lag. This is a 15-hour difference between where I live and where I am now. Jet lag has been real. Also, the colder, drier climate, and I don't think anyone will say Seattle is dry, but compared to Taipei, Taiwan, Seattle's dry. And this colder weather, it's been a challenge to sleep. So recovery's been a bit of a mixed bag, and nutrition's also been a bit of a mixed bag. Because again, coming to the States, it's just different food than I'm used to. And again, here in the States, there's a lot more junk food that I'm used to being an American. So I've been wanting to go back to these things that I haven't had for like 3 years. And I'm finding I don't like them anymore. They're either too sweet, they're too processed, they're too salty, or they completely destroy my stomach. So there's been a little bit of that. So continually just sort of refining out, like all the junk out of my diet. I've kind of gotten a lot of it out of my system, and really just getting back to kind of how I was eating in Taiwan. And I think I'm feeling my stomach get better for that. So let's talk about training and race nutrition. Now, 2 things that I rely on consistently across the board are Martin and something called Pocari Sweat, which this sounds ridiculous, but this is the best. Now let's start with Pocari Sweat. If I ever have a channel sponsor, it's going to be Pocari Sweat. What this is this is Asia's Gatorade, but it's not as sweet and sugary as Gatorade. This is a much more neutral drink that doesn't feel as heavily processed. In fact, the story of Pocari Sweat is that the Japanese product person who developed this, I think, was dehydrated or something somewhere in South America, went to a clinic or a hospital, got an IV drip to be rehydrated, and was really curious what was in the bag that was hydrating him. And when he went back to Japan, and this was 30 years ago, wanted to develop a drink that hydrates you based on the science that are in sort of an IV drip bag. It sounds kind of gross. The name sounds kind of gross, but it's a very light hydration mix that has a slight grapefruit flavor. This is the best thing in the world for me for post-run hydration. So in Taiwan, where you just go outside and you start to sweat, Pocari Sweat just completely saves the day. You see Pocari Sweat everywhere. It's universal. Every 7-Eleven, every Family Mart, literally everywhere you go, not just in Taiwan, in Asia, you will find Pocari Sweat. Like I said, it's the Gatorade of Asia. It's just so much better. So I swear by this. Even here in Seattle, I brought a bunch of these, and I'm using them for hydration post run, and it's been great. I depend on this all the time, and this keeps me hydrated, and I love it. Now, for race fueling or training fueling, again, I'm a Martin person. I've used Martin since my cycling days. I like the drink mix. I specifically like the calf version of this. And I always will do this about 2 to 3 hours before a key workout or before a race. So love this drink mix. Put it in the Martin bottle. We're good to go. Now, during the race, I depend on These gels, I love both of them and I alternate both of them. So my strategy for race fueling is I'll try to do one of these alternating. So at the beginning of the race, I'll do the non-caffeinated version and then I'll switch to caffeinated, then I'll do non-caffeinated, then I'll switch to caffeinated. And I try to do these every 8 to 10 kilometers, which I think is a little less than what a lot of people do, because I think even Martin will say do it every 5 kilometers. But I find that it's just too much for my stomach. And in fact, even after about 30 kilometers, if my stomach's just not feeling it, and that'll be about three gels for me, I may not even do the last one, but I'll carry 4 gels with me when I'm actually in the race. And I'll, again, plan on doing those every 8 to 10 kilometers. Though the final one, like I said, I may not take it, or if I feel like I'm crashing, that I'm bonking, I will take it around 35, 36K. And I've done that in the past and it's worked really well. It's enough to fuel me. It's enough where I feel energetic, but it doesn't completely destroy my stomach. I've never really had problems with, being nauseous or anything when I'm running. It's more just that heavy feeling. If I do too many gels, I just get this heavy feeling. I also like Honey Stinger energy chews. I will carry these within the race with me. Not the whole bag, but I'll put a few in like a little baggie and I'll put it in the little pocket, or if I run with a waist belt, I'll carry these chews. These kind of hit me harder and faster than the Martin does. And I like them, but these are things that I will have on me, but only if I need them. And before I switched to Martin drinks and gels, I liked Honey Stinger and I swore by this stuff when I was actually cycling. All of their things, drink mixes, I believe they had some bars. Honey Stinger is a good brand. This also doesn't bother my stomach. So between Honey Stinger and Martin, if you have a sensitive stomach to sports nutrition, I would recommend both of these. And if you want some hydration, again, try to find Pocari Sweat. You can find this in Asian markets. They're all over different cities in the States. You'll find this everywhere. It's probably pretty expensive compared to Gatorade, but it really works. Again, I swear by Pocari Sweat. And the last thing that I use, and I also have really liked Noon for a long time, but I can't get this in Taiwan, so I haven't really been depending on this, but I have found it here in Seattle. So I am sort of mixing this in again with the Pocari Sweat. But what I use this for is I'll do this pre-run for just sort of maybe not an easy run, but not a workout. I'll do this workout, or I'll do a gel pre-workout, like a hard workout, like an interval workout, or I'm going to go do some marathon pace. But if I'm going to go do some aerobic pace, some like tempo work, I'll do this because this is more for hydration. I don't think there's a lot of energy in this, but it just keeps me hydrated. I like fruit punch. It's always been the flavor I've liked of Noon. And I'll do this pre-workout just to get, a little bit of something in my system to be hydrated. And it's been great. I've only bought in 1 bottle of these because, again, I'm using Pocari Sweat for all post-run hydration. But it's nice to use this again, but I don't love it as much as I used to, but I still really enjoy it. So this is another key product I would recommend for hydration, especially in workouts. Now, for the actual racing, my plan, like I said, is I'm going to do a gel every 8 to 10 kilometers, but I will drink at every table. So I haven't looked at the drink tables, but generally with a marathon, they're every 5 to 6 kilometers. I will drink at every drink station that I see. Generally water until probably after 25, 30K. Then I will start to take whatever sports drink they have on the table. I don't know what New York City has. Thing I'm going to miss about racing in Asia is in Asia, they always have Pocari Sweat. So I'm going to miss this. But whatever energy drink they have on the table, I will grab that after about 25, 30K and mix it with water. So I'll try to get the energy drink first, because usually that will be earlier in the zone and then there'll be water at the end of the zone. Or if it's the other way around, I'll do water, then I'll do the drink. But I'll hydrate every chance that I get. And then the last thing that I will do is I don't have any with me. I need to order them, but I have these little salt candies. They're like little gobstopper type things. And those are great, especially later in the race. I don't have a history of cramping. And again, New York City is not going to be super hot. It's not going to be Taipei, 30 degrees Celsius weather. So I'm not really worried about salt and cramping. And again, I don't have a history of it, but I will keep a couple of those on me as well, just to have them available. If anything, just to have something to kind of suck on towards the end of the race when just you need anything to take your mind off just the pain or the running or whatever it is. Sometimes just having one of those little salt candies, which again, the ones I like are grapefruit flavored. That seems to be the thing I like for racing. It just keeps my mind off, everything that's going on. And it just helps me through those last few kilometers. And if I feel like I'm going to cramp, I'll have them available too. So that is my race nutrition strategy. Let's talk about shoes now. I don't have a lot of deep shoe nerdery in this one because really I've only been running in a pair of Peg 40s and a pair of Vaporfly 3s. In fact, I've only brought these two shoes with me to Seattle. I'm using the Peg for easy runs, some long runs, and really everything else in between. And I'm using the Vaporfly for all workouts, which at this point are really just marathon, like 1K a marathon, rest, 1K, just doing marathon pace or half marathon pace using this. And I'm using this for my long runs where I'm doing easy running and then I'll do a couple K or a couple miles of marathon pace, go back to easy running, do some more marathon pace, or just do a big block of marathon pace, like a 10K block, some easy, maybe put in a 5K block of half marathon pace, workouts like that, doing them in this shoe. And it's been great. I've learned a few things about this shoe and I've been talking with some other people online about some of my impressions on this shoe. I'm going to make a video about not the Vaporfly 3, but what I think is making the Vaporfly series so special and why this shoe still is the standard out there for racing and why it feels so different than anything else out there. I think there's some interesting things that since I've spent so much time in this shoe in the past month and a half, I've really realized about it. So look for that video in the next couple weeks. Again, it's not going to be specifically about the Vaporfly 3. I'll be talking a lot about the Vaporfly 3 because that's the one I have and that's what's current. But I think I've figured out what is so special about the Vaporfly. So stay tuned for that. And the last shoe on the training block that I'm excited about that finally seems to be coming out is the Nike Vomero 17. We've known about this shoe since the spring. I don't know why it's taken so long for Nike to release this thing, but it finally hit the store last Thursday. It's coming soon as of the recording this video. I would expect it to be available early next week after the Chicago Marathon. And I'm really looking forward to that shoe. What I've seen of the reviews of that shoe is that it's somewhere between a Pegasus and Invincible. I haven't run in the Invincibles since I was running in the Super Blast back in August. I don't want to run in the Invincible. I don't want that much shoe. I don't want that much cushion. I just don't want to be running in that big of a shoe right now. So the Vomero 17 seems to be somewhere between a Peg and the Invincible 3, which sounds perfect because also the Vomero 17 seems to have a more traditional outsole, less rocker, more like a Peg, which I also am really gravitating towards right now. I like the traditional feel of the shoe, so I'm really looking forward to the traditional feel of the Vomero 17. So as soon as I get that, expect some videos covering that on the channel as well. And what that shoe is going to be for is really a lot of bulk running. The next 2 weeks, I'm going to try to up my mileage to about 70, 80 miles per week. That's not a ton, and it's only going to be about 2 weeks of that, but that's what I'm capable of right now. That's what's possible, given where I have to run right now, plus everything else going on. And I'm going to do a lot of that in the Vomero 17, I would expect. I expect to like that shoe. And then I'm going to pull out the Vaporfly for the key long runs and any sort of fast work. So next episode, a month from now, I'll probably have some more updates about that. The other thing I'll say is I have bought a race pair of these, so there'll be another pair of these that you'll see. I'll talk more about that in the next video when I go over my race kit, when I'll actually be racing in. But yeah, that's everything that's going on in the shoe space for me for this marathon build. So actually, September, other than the travel from Taipei to Seattle, has been fairly uneventful, even with the blistering issue on my right foot. It's just been getting a lot of miles in, and I feel strong. I feel like there's been a lot of quality in my running. My marathon pace feels very controlled right now, feels very comfortable, which I've never been in a race build where the pace that I was going to race at felt as comfortable as it is right now. Whether or not I can maintain that for the full marathon distance, we'll see, but I feel strong. My running feels good. My marathon pace feels good. The effort feels good, especially in these cooler temps. So far, everything's going well right now, and we'll see how the next month goes as I spend more time in these cooler temps getting ready for New York City. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing. You'll see more content like this pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.